So we come home from a big Saturday buffet of games, and we're going to do Late Kick Live on Sunday. We'll start it a little bit early, as I said, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. Why are we doing that? Because of what comes Sunday night. Notre Dame as a 7.5-point favorite at Florida State. It's the Sunday night 7:30 game on ABC. I get the sense that the nation thinks it has a pretty good read on both of these programs. Probably if you asked the general college football public, what do you feel about Florida State right now? You probably know it's year 2 under Mike Norvell. It's Florida State, so they have to have some decent athleticism on the roster, and you got the year 1 to year 2 bump, and also Mackenzie Milton's there now. It's probably the extent of what many of you know about Florida State. Now, as for Notre Dame, a lot of you know it's going to be a good, solid program. Any given year under Brian Kelly, they're going to be really hard-nosed. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're not going to be explosive offensively. They got that Jack Cohn guy, is probably what a lot of you would say, the guy who was second best at Wisconsin at the end of the day. So he's going to now be the guy who starts here and tries to be Ian Book 2.0, even though their games don't necessarily match up. That's what most of you know about these programs. How much does it match reality? Let's talk about this. I went back for a reference point on this game, and I watched a lot of that Notre Dame, North Carolina matchup from last year. Because what I wanted to know is I wanted to know if I could convince myself that this game has any shot of looking different than that one. And a lot of you remember that one. It was a 31-17 final, but it was a game that after a fast start, I think it was 14-14 at the end of one, after a fast start, Notre Dame just grabbed the game by the throat. It was like Notre Dame was trying to grab a snake. And the snake was slithering around, but eventually Notre Dame grabbed the snake, and the snake had no shot. And Notre Dame just held the snake up, and it was really blue, really weird colored snake, but it was done because North Carolina couldn't match up line of scrimmage, and so it was done. And at the end of the day, it was Notre Dame running it 36 times for a little over 200 yards, I think, if you don't count sack yardage. And so they put North Carolina consistently in bad third down situations. North Carolina was 2 of 12 that day. So does that carry over here? No, a lot of these guys are different players. Notre Dame has a lot of the different players than they had last year. But stylistically, I was trying to convince myself that this game will be different. I don't know that it will be, but I'm open to having my mind changed. Notre Dame is down some offensive line pieces from that team. Now, I was talking to someone who was informed about this team this past week. Notre Dame, I think as a staff, has gone through a little bit of a cycle since spring. They thought that they'd be a pretty good team, but they probably thought, some of them at least going into spring, we're going to be 1 year away. I think now they believe this team at its top end is capable of making the playoff again. They feel that good about where they've come with the freshmen they're going to start, along with the transfer from Marshall they're going to start on the offensive line. They feel like they went 2 for 2 there. But also in this particular game, they love both lines of scrimmage. They love both of those matchups, and they don't feel that Florida State has the weapons, the consistency in the weaponry out wide. And even if they do, and I'm going to get to this point with Florida State quarterbacks in a second, I don't know that offensively Florida State's going to be anywhere close to, in week 1, what they're eventually capable of being. So I think it's advantage both line of scrimmage for Notre Dame here. I've got a question about the way Mike Norvell is going to handle quarterback. They have not publicized a starter. I believe that, unlike the Texas situation where we were just biding our time and we were eventually going to get an announcement, I believe you're going to see both guys. I believe you're going to see Travis. I believe you're going to see Mackenzie Milton a lot. I don't know if it's a 50-50 deal, but I think you're going to see both of them a lot. So the line sits at 7.5. It was bet down from 9 or 10 when it was originally released. And so let's take a look at what our model thinks about this. Okay, so we know that there's been some action on Florida State. I get it. They're honoring Bobby Bowden. It's a night game. It's a standalone game. It's at Doak Campbell Stadium. It's Notre Dame taking some unfamiliar pieces out on the road. Our model loves Notre Dame here. So the Vegas line currently is Irish minus 7.5. Our in-house model has this thing all the way up in double digits. We are strongly considering handing this out on the Ramen Noodle Express even at 7.5. I'd prefer 7, obviously. This is going to be a personal play for me, even if it is not handed out on the Ramen Noodle Express. If you see 7, consider that a Ramen Noodle Express play. But we are taking Notre Dame, and kind of the same theme as we were talking about a little while ago with LSU. over a 4-quarter night. I think, ironically, some of the elements that exist that are unique to Florida, all that heat and humidity, that plays in Notre Dame's favor. I mean, you can market it as an advantage for the Noles all you want to. Standing up with what Notre Dame's going to show you and what Notre Dame's going to lean on you with over 4 quarters, I don't get the sense that that Florida State's got any more of a shot to withstand that than North Carolina did last year. And so I'm going to take North Carolina to win, or it would be a big deal. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win, and we'll take Notre Dame and we'll lay those 7.5 points.